Live from Lagos, this is Lunchtime Politics. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. There are big things happening in the polity. Our job is to bring you up to speed. Let's give you some of the headlines. Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State says the federal government needs to pause the move to introduce the tax reform bills to allow for further consultation to get the buy-in of all stakeholders. Political war is preparatory to become a general in politics. Former President Goodluck Jonathan encourages Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State to stay the course as a cause for peace. And the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited doubles down, maintains that Port Harcourt Refinery is operational and functional, following skepticism about the just rehabilitated facility. Thanks again for joining us on the program, your midday gateway into the polity. Let's get started with our early morning fire inferno that raised the only market at the Trademore Estate in Lugbe in the nation's capital, Abuja. The inferno, which is said to have started around 3:30 a.m. today, shortly after the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company restored power, swamped the market before emergency services could respond. However, the exact cause of this inferno is yet to be ascertained. Channels Television could not ascertain the extent of damage, that's pending the final report, but the fire has now been put out by emergency respondents. And away from Abuja, President Bola Tinubu is expected to be outbound France today for Cape Town, South Africa, to co-chair the 11th session of the Nigerian-South Africa Bi-National Commission alongside President Cyril Ramaphosa in South Africa. A statement by Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Nanuga, explains that the event scheduled for Tuesday, December the 3rd, will be preceded by a ministerial meeting on December the 2nd, which is today, at the South African Parliament building in Cape Town. The Economic Stabilization Initiative, driven by the proposed tax reform bill, is required for progress to adequately finance the economy that would, in the long run, depend or make Nigeria less dependent on oil. That's the submission of the president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Mr. Samuel Agbeluyi, during our program, The Morning Brief. Mr. Agbeluyi, however, supports the idea that all stakeholders' input is actually required, including those strongly opposed to the bill due to its multiple dimensions.
Derivation is not 100% an economic matter. It has the social and political angle. So for us in CITN, it must be looked from that perspective, not entirely from economic angle, because I was in your station about a week ago, and I said, if Nigeria must move forward, no state will win if every other state is not winning. And if you look at the rural-urban migration, if you look at the social dislocation in the country, it only speaks to the fact that everybody must be brought on board. I will also look at it from this angle. We are looking at the activities, the 90% that is going to both the state and the local government is to be distributed 60% derivation, 20% population, and 20% equality. Now, it is so important in order to make all parties win. We can also suggest that we look at those states with the most negative climate challenge. And we say, okay, let's give them a certain percentage from this amount. So it is not a bad thing that people are talking about the derivation. It is only to make everybody relevant and everybody to get this cake.
The controversy rages on. The governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, has explained why northern governors advised President Bola Tinubu to hold on before pushing the controversial tax reform bills, citing what they consider loads of misconceptions surrounding the tax issue. The governor, who was guest on our program, Sunday Politics, says the Northern Governors Forum only need time to consult as the reform is queued against them.
On this tax issue, there's a lot of misconception. During the NEC, we had the NEC, and we advised federal government to force for a moment in order to have deeper consultations with stakeholders. That was our own statement. Then later on, people have turned it upside down. But I want you to believe that consultation is central to democracy. This beggars belief that in a democratic setting, we are begging for the right to consult or to be consulted. This is only what has happened. We haven't said anything, but we felt that the provision, VAT provision in the tax law, which clearly stated that VAT allocation should be based on derivation. The proposed bill further stated that 60% of the VAT tax will be shared based on derivation. So I'm not an economist, but based on the calculations that we did, only Lagos State and Rivers State will benefit from this scheme.
Okay, so that is where we have lots of controversy as far as the tax reform bill is concerned. And I'm being joined on the program by an economist, as accountant, I should say, has 32 years as a chartered accountant. He's also an energy expert as well as a public affairs analyst, Mr. Nick Agule. Thank you so much, Mr. Nick, for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to our viewers globally.
All right, Mr. Nick, I just want to show you and our viewers some of the things that we're talking about as far as this controversy is concerned. So if you can see my screen here, so this is actually a quick display of what is going on. The new law is called the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill 2024. And according to Section 77 of that law, this is the new distribution for states and federal government as well as local government. So I call the other one the old tax law. So now with this new law, federal government will be getting 10% as against 15% previously. The state government will be getting 55% as against 50%. And then the local government will be getting 35% retaining their position. But this is where the controversy really is. The next slide is where the controversy really is. This is out of the 50% or 55% that is going to the states. In terms of VAT distribution, 20% will be going for equality. That used to be different from now. It used to be 50%. From 50 to 20. The population, what that simply means, based on your population size, they'll share it in such a way that you get 30%. So that has moved from 30% to 20%. And now the derivation, meaning the people that actually collect the tax, the state and all of that, it used to be 20%. It has now moved to 60%, which is what is causing the big trouble. Now, I want to go to the law, the very provision of the law that stated what this is all about. The Nigerian Tax Act, Section 77 says, notwithstanding any formula that may be prescribed by any other law, the net revenue accrued by virtue of the operation of the Chapter 6 of the Nigerian Tax Act shall be distributed as follows: 10% to the federal government, 55% to the states and the capital territory, that's federal capital territory, 35% to the local government, as I stated, provided that 60% of the amount standing to the credit of state and local government shall be distributed among them on the basis of derivation. What that big grammar simply means is that this is simply saying that this has moved from just having much population to how productive you are as an economy. Mr. Agule, I know that you have a better understanding of these numbers than I do because you're an accountant, you follow this work. So bring us up to speed. You've heard Mr. Zulum, the governor of the state, talk about their agitation, their reservation, and the need for consultation. What's your take on their position as far as this law is concerned?
Thank you very much. Before I put forward my take, especially based on the agitations that are happening, including what Governor Zulum said, I want to say that personally, my own personal view as a Nigerian, I need to weigh in with my own view on this matter is that I totally support this new tax bill, given that the bigger pie of the net proceeds to the credit of states and local government will be shared to them based on derivation. What that then means is that the more economic activities that you generate in your states and local government, the more of the VAT revenue that you will get. And I can't see anything that is wrong with that, because one of the biggest challenges that we have had in Nigeria is this concept of the federation account. If we are running a federal system of government, just as we copied almost everything from the United States, we have turned it on its head, because in a federal system of government, it is a subnational government, the state and local government, who generate economic activities, and then they send money to the center so that the center can run common services like foreign policy, defense, issuance of currency, monetary policy, and things like that. But in Nigeria, we have turned it around where the monies are generated at the federal, and then every month, the states and local government gather with the federal, and they begin to share money. And a lot of governors have come into the saddle in Nigeria, and they have just depended on this money that is being shared. They've really not done anything in their states to generate economic activities, create jobs, and all of that, and they've left office. So any move that is going to force the hands of the governors and local government chairmen to do more in their states is going to have my support. In fact, I give an example. For instance, we have about 200 rivers in Nigeria. And if state governors had this economic policy to dam a single river per term, you will realize that since the Fourth Republic started in 1999, each state in Nigeria has had 6 terms. That means 6 dams would have been built. And once you build a dam, you get agriculture, meaning irrigation is possible. So you don't need to wait for rainfall, right? You can actually do agriculture all around the year. You are going to have hydroelectricity to power the communities. You are going to have pipe-borne water, have fishing activities, and tourism around that ecosystem. Now multiply 6 dams per state times 36 states in Nigeria, we would have got almost 200 dams. And this would have been 200 development centers. Has any governor in Nigeria constructed a dam on its river to power agriculture in their states? Answer is no. So you can discover that anything that will force them to generate economic activities is good, because once they begin to generate economic activities, then there will be job creation, and that is how poverty will be reduced in the country. So that is my point. Now, the second bit of this is that in the attempt to force governors and local government chairmen to generate economic activities, the framers of this new tax bill have moved, just like you rightly showed, have moved the share of the balance to the credit of states and the FCT and the local government in terms of sharing formula from 20% on derivation to 60% on derivation. It then means that if you are not doing any economic activities at all, you can only share from 40% of the pot. Unlike before, if you're not doing any economic activity at all, you could share from 80% of the pot, because it was only 20% that was on derivation. To me, that is good, but there are certain things that need to be done. Now that derivation is carrying a huge chunk of the sharing formula, there needs to be data. And that's why I put out a short write-up yesterday to say that data is king. It is data that is going to win this battle, right? There needs to be clear-cut procedural standard operating processes that have to be put on the table to deal with every item of consumption of goods or services and how the VAT will be attributed to the location of consumption. Because as we stand today, a lot of the corporate headquarters of a majority of the economic agents in Nigeria are located in Lagos. And there is evidence that most of them have their staff who are dealing with taxes. Their tax teams are based in Lagos, and they are filing taxes in Lagos. For this new tax policy to work, that has to be unbundled. There has to be work that needs to be done by economic agents or the corporate entities operating in Nigeria to show that they are going to put in the hard work to ensure that taxes are attributable to the points of consumption. I can give you an example. For instance, I'm using a cell phone, and this cell phone, immediately I came to Guzape here, where the studios of Channels Television is located. My cell phone connected to the nearest base station here in Guzape. So if I consume telecom services, that is, I make a call or use data and all of that, the telecoms company is able to know exactly where that consumption happened. The question is that, are they detailed enough? Are they diligent to allocate the billions of calls that are made in a month to each base station and each state where is and local government where is the consumption happened? If answer is yes, we're home and dry.
Just for a moment, I know that part of I'm seeing section 22, subsection 12. I didn't put it up, but it says for the purpose of attribution, any return under this section shall provide details of derivation of taxable supplies by location in a manner prescribed by the service. So my question would be, do you think the agency is ready enough to carry out this responsibility? Because if you look at my slide, the very first one, it had to do with 10%. The reason why the committee had to reduce from 15 to 10 is just for the service rendered by the federal government. And then we come here where you've made an interesting point as to, for just being a state and having so much population, you enjoy 80%. Now, that has been reduced and crashed by 50% to now 40%. So if you're not productive, you're on your own. But the other element that people are not really talking about, you've mentioned, which has to do with the consumption. Do you think we have enough personnel, resources, technology to be able to track consumption? Because it feels to me now that for you to get a piece of this pie, it's either you ramp up production hub in your state or you create a consumption rendezvous. Is technology available to make it as effective and efficient as possible?
I believe that technology is available. I also believe that the economic agents, that is the suppliers of goods and services in Nigeria, can put in the hard work to make data sweet, to ensure that states are not cheated in terms of attribution of the economic activities being generated in their jurisdictions and the taxes that are being borne out of those economic activities. But it is for the presidential task force on tax reforms to prove to the Nigerian public that they are ready and the corporate entities are ready, or what is the game plan? What's actually the plan to make sure that there's readiness? And that is why, the ball is back in their court. So far, I hear them say, it will be attributable, every location will be, but we need the A, B, and C of it. I used to do systems, I used to develop systems for IOCs when I used to work, and we have what we call how-to guides. So the presidential task force on tax reforms need to bring out the how-to guides for every scenario of economic activity and how the VAT will be attributed to the location of consumption. I think that is the kind of clarity that is lacking right now. And the more they bring this clarity, the less the contentions that are being generated.
All right, Mr. Nick, I have two questions for you in quick succession. If you can answer them maybe in 1.5 minutes each. The first will be, the president has come up with these policies, from the removal of PMS to increase in electricity tariff, to floating of the Naira, devaluation of the Naira, unification, and now to this tax reform. From the political angle, should people be concerned about his political future? Because it looks to me, the APC political party looks to me like the left of center pushing a right of center economic policy.
I think I will use this opportunity you have given me to advise President Tinubu that his economic reforms are meant for the good of Nigerians. But when you are performing surgery on a patient, you must be applying anesthesia to that patient. If you don't, you could probably just kill that patient on the operating table. So the economic reforms must come with palliatives. For instance, let us look at fuel subsidy is gone. The president didn't need to make that statement because fuel subsidy arose from dead refineries, and dead refineries arose from NNPCL that is not doing its job. So instead of the president removing subsidy, he could have gone to deal with the NNPCL. And after he dealt with the NNPCL, our refineries would have come on stream, and we could have got petroleum products more readily available and probably cheaper than they are now. And the same thing with forest unification. Instead of just unifying the market, the Naira is not strong because we are importing too much and we are exporting too few. And the president could attack things like power supply to generate economic activities so that we can depend less on the dollar. So this is what I would advise him to do. Let him do the hard work.
I did say I will ask you two questions, 30 seconds. So from what you know and what you've heard, the NNPCL back and forth, they've admitted that they are blending. So we don't know to the extent of blending, whether it's partial or full blending. They collect C5 from Indorama to blend with naphtha. We don't know whether that naphtha is from the refinery, from the distillation column, or they also bought it or brought it from somewhere else. What's your take? 30 seconds.
Yeah, my take is that I have not been to the Port Harcourt refinery to confirm things for myself, but there's one key question that must be answered, which is what you have said. Are the distillation units in the old Port Harcourt refinery fired up? If they are fired up, then indeed refining has started, and the naphtha is coming from that, and they are using it to blend. What it then means is that the refinery is not yet fully completed because naphtha is one of the first things that come out, and they are just using it to blend instead of taking that naphtha through the remaining aspects of refining and bring up PMS. So it is the key question, are the distillation columns fired up? If answer is yes, refining has taken place. If the answer is no, then that is a blending plant. That means they are getting the naphtha from somewhere, and then they are just blending it with C5.
Mr. Nick Kagule, your insights are quite apt. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Accountant, 32. I wanted to add 3 more years to you. A chartered accountant for 32 years, as well as energy expert, and of course, a public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming on the program. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a nice day.
Fantastic. All right, so let's move on now to other stories. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has encouraged Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara to remain committed in governance, noting that the political challenges in the state are only a means to refine him. He says the interest of stakeholders like him is for Rivers State to be peaceful because the state is the center of the Niger Delta.
Traditional council. First time we are holding the top political office, we pass through a lot. And just know that nobody becomes a general without fighting wars. So whatever challenges we are meeting now is baking you to be a general in politics. And with your total commitment and the support I've seen from the people of River State, God will surely see you through. Don't be perturbed. Continue to do your work as you have been doing. The wishes of the people, the prayers of the people are with you. And God will see you through, and God will see River State through. We want a peaceful River State, because River State is the center of the Niger Delta, and I always make it very clear. If we create serious perturbation in River State, we are creating crisis in the Niger Delta, which is not good for our economy as a nation. We want a peaceful River State. We want the governor of River State to be allowed to remain calm and do his work. After he finishes serving, another person will take over. It is not here for our, we know that they are there on them parts. But political offices, you have tenured, so you don't need to kill yourself over any political office. Allow those who are there to do their work, and after that, anything can happen. I plead with Rivers people to see that this state remain peaceful so that our people will develop.
All right, counsel from the former president. Good luck, Jonathan. Before we wrap up, let's tell you that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPCL, is assuring Nigerians that the Port Harcourt Refinery is functional and operational in response to insinuation that the rehabilitated facility is not working. This is according to the MD of the refinery, Mr. Ibrahim Onoja, and other senior officials who conducted journalists on a tour of the facility in Port Harcourt. They debunked claims that the refinery has stopped working.
We have surplus product available. We have our loading arms operational, and we have been begging them to come in since yesterday. If we give us 100 trucks today, we evacuate it in less than maximum 5 hours.
All right.
So it's not our problem. It's the tanker drivers' problem. We have been begging them since yesterday to come around and take products.
That's it on the program. Thank you so much on behalf of the producer and all the guys behind the scene at the MCR and the engineers. Thank you for your company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.